Toni Morrison. She's a well-known, established author. Probably the most famous book is Beloved. If you've never heard of her, check out some of her books. But she did a commencement speech where she talks about the preamble. That famous phrase, how everyone's guaranteed a life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Right. Very famous line. Jefferson. In her speech, she says that she wishes that the writers of the Declaration had, instead of used the word happiness, because we all want happiness, right? That's ultimately one thing we always pursue. It's going to change, but she wishes that instead of happiness, they had used the word meaningfulness.
Wow.
Because meaningful is, how do we create meaning? What are the things that create meaning? Because it's not necessarily going to bring happiness all the time. In fact, I think if we pursue happiness, there's a lot of research, in psychology, current psychological studies, and they call it cognitive. What's it called? There's like a whole study of like positive, like. Oh man, I should have touched up on a lot of stuff again, but we study, happiness. Harvard teaches a whole course on happiness that is pretty popular. And oftentimes we chase it, trying to recreate past times, and it's almost like a endless pursuit. But meaningfulness is different. What are we doing in life that's making us feel meaning? Because happiness kind of becomes a byproduct of that. As long as you're doing meaningful things, creating meaning in your work, whatever work it is that you do, are you feeling meaningful in that? You're pursuing that. I think those are good questions to ask. And I think if you are pursuing that path, I think that's a good definition of success. How are you doing on that path? Do you feel meaningful in your life, personal, interpersonal relationships, your work, your if you have any hobbies or passions? It's always good to reflect. Is this meaningful for me? Am I putting what I need to into this? Should I try other things? Expand the boundaries. It's always kind of coming back to that question. So,
okay, let's get into this subject, because to me it's so interesting. Because you can also find meaning through happiness, right? Mm-hmm. And let me expand on that. I'm a happy person. I honestly am a happy person. And when I think about what makes you happy, right? Like, what is it that, because sometimes I go on my trips, and what is it that it's happiness? And I was like, well, I'm not smiling 24/7. That's not happiness. Mm-hmm. But I think I finally got it. To me, at least, what makes me happy is, first of all, enjoying every single moment, right? Even if it's a bad one, if it's a good one. But the main thing that makes me happy is that, not that I smile 24/7, but there's very, very, very few things that make me unhappy. Okay. Like, I can't, like, very few things that make me happy. And through that, I am happy. And sometimes when, when I'm around people, the one thing that I do brag about, the one thing I feel like super excited, that I feel like I'm on top of the world, is that I'm happy. You might have more money, you might have this, but you know what? I'm happy. And can the same thing can the same thing be about you? And most of the time the answer is no. Now, as you're saying meaningful, you are right. I think I am living a meaningful life to me. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's kind of like, through my happiness, I'm being meaningful, right? And I don't know if it can be like the same concept, because it brings meaning to my life, knowing that if I was to die tomorrow, you know what? The one thing that I want people to remember, you know what? That guy was happy. That's it. That's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I really don't want people to remember me for the podcast, for the business, for my work, for being a good parent. Maybe I'm not. Whatever it is, I want people to be honest with, like, you know what? That guy lived whatever years, mm-hmm. and he was happy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But to that for me, that's meaningful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds exactly what, that definitely does fit in line with what I was saying here, because you're not actively like pursuing like happiness as a thing. It's rather what you do, and which is meaningful, helps you recognize that. And also, it sounds like you don't let things bother you too much. Like living in the moment is such an important thing. you know, there's so much to be said about our mindsets.
Yeah.
You know, can go a long way. There's circumstances, yes. Mindsets, yes. Nice combination of the two. Like, what do we do with it? Like, we're in control of only so much. So what we can't control, you know, let's get there. And so it sounds like you're in control of your emotions there. So which is pretty good, pretty sound. You know, and we went.
Wait,
Well,
I'm sure someone's gonna be like, "Oh, I enjoyed those 5 minutes." Let me ask you this: